Welcome to the Protector Culture Podcast with Jimmy Graham. Jimmy is a veteran U.S. Navy SEAL, a former protective officer for the CIA Global Response Staff, founder and CEO of the Able Shepherd Program, a husband and father of four, and a personal friend of mine. Now here's Jimmy.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Protector Culture Podcast with Jimmy Graham. I'm your host, Jimmy Graham. Joining me today is Steve Klein, Able Shepherd 073, correct?
That is correct.
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Jimmy?
Also a personal friend of mine.
Personal friend of mine.
Steve does the voice intro that you guys have heard 50 times because it's coming into every one of the at least 15 times. Was it 14, 15? And saying he's a personal friend of mine. And also Peng, Able Shepherd number 043. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Good to be here, man.
Good to see you. Thanks for coming in and joining us, man. I know
Sure.
we got bumped a couple times. No big, I appreciate your flexibility.
Definitely.
But the good news is that you were going to call in, and now you're actually here. I even forgot to take off my little Corona mask here. But it's great that we could get together and talk about this. In this episode, we're going to talk about the Camino de Santiago. I wanted to take a break from the coronavirus kind of stuff that's been surrounding us right now and come with a positive note. Now, the Camino de Santiago has my interest fully right now. It's a 790 kilometer or 500 mile pilgrimage walk from France to Spain. There's many routes, but this is absolutely interesting, and I want to just set it up and tell you why. One, because of the significance of that route and what it means for so many people. It could be different things, but I think that sense of adventure that I have talked to both you guys about, and I got to share this. There's this the friend of mine that works here at Centennial Gun Club with me. Her name is Tracy Carlson. She's an amazing lady. She's a go-getter. She's Iowa, so it's Midwest, born and bred, so we get along really great. She's an amazing person, and strangely, we'll have conversations where we both end up in tears, right? And I got to explain this because it's not like I'm ticking her off. Where something that we say about the vision of working together or living and doing stuff, living life, and it reminds her stories of her dad. So I said, she goes, what are you doing? I'm going to go to this this podcast with some of the guys that are coming in from the program about the Camino de Santiago. She said, what is that? So I start talking about it. And then she starts going into this story about her father, about one of the regrets that he had in his life that he expressed to her. She did a swim, the Alcatraz swim, if you're familiar with that. Shark-infested waters, 50-degree water, all that stuff. And she did this swim. And he was talking to her and he said, there's, one of the regret, a pretty good life. One of the regrets I have is not being there during your swim when you got out of the water. She goes, I'll do it again. So she did it again.
Wow. So
he could be there. And she says, someday I'll write a book about this called something regarding talking about the rearview mirror. I said, you need to write that book because for a guy like me with children, I can't miss this stuff. Mm-hmm. So if there's somebody that capitalized that, maybe they missed something, maybe they didn't, but I need to hear it because I really want to do it right. So those things are gold. So stories like this about taking advantage of living your life right now and going out and doing things and sharing time with your son or with my daughters or with whoever, just doing it yourself. How did I hear about this? So that segues into this. Steve Klein comes to the class, and the Able Shepherd program you guys all hear about all the time, there is a class called Protecting Our People. It's the very first one. You guys have all done it. I've taught it many times. Skip teaches it now as well. And we say, name, where you're from, favorite movie. And it's just an icebreaker. It's just to get people talking together and all that stuff. Well, Steve says The Way. So what's The Way? It's an amazing movie. It's got Emilio Estevez and Martin Sheen. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I'm like, I know these people. Why don't I not know about this movie? So he says, you got to watch. It's life-changing. I'm like, okay, cool. Thank you, Steve. And then we just go around the table. We'll actually watch it. It rocks me. And then what was going on, and then I'll let you talk about this, but it rocked me, but then it intrigued me. This is a real thing. What was the event depicted in that, the route depicted in that, is a real thing that over 200,000 people a year do. So with that, can you explain that movie and why it touched you so deeply? Because I know a little bit about your adventurous spirit. We just shared a 4,400 mile motorcycle ride across the Northwest. So please take it away.
That was an adventure, yeah. So I'm watching The Way, and so The Way, it starts out, I'll just give you the setup of the movie because I don't want to give too much of it away. But there's a father.
I think after 15 years, there's no spoiler alert. It's not a new movie.
That's true. It came out, matter of fact, I think it came out in 2010.
Oh, did it? Okay.
It's
10 years old.
Yeah, ridiculous. So it's a father and a son that have a very strained relationship. They don't talk much. And the father wanted the son to get a real job and to do the life that he expected for him. And the son wanted to explore. He wanted to live life. Matter of fact, what was Emilio's phrase to his dad is, you don't choose life, Dad, you live it. And that's always kind of been my motto. And I saw that, and that kind of touched me right there. But then to set up the movie, so he hasn't talked to his son for a while, and he finds out that his son has passed away on this route during his very first day on the Camino de Santiago. And so he has to go over there to France to get the ashes of his son. And his son wanted to complete this Camino de Santiago, and he chooses to walk with his son's ashes. So that's the setup for the movie. The characters that join him along the way, it's almost like a Wizard of Oz kind of feel, because there's characters along the way that they pick up, and each has their own story, and their story of hurt and their story of healing. And so this is a healing journey for everybody too, but it's a story of adventure and the bonds that grow and hurt and learning to get past the hurt. But it goes deep on so many levels. I've never met a person who hasn't been touched by the movie.
Great movie. So appreciate the recommendation. And you had expressed bucket list. It's a bucket list thing for you.
Bucket list. It's a calling for me.
Yeah.
It's a calling. And
the more I look into it, the more, and now we got Al here that did a portion of this. So I don't know that you knew about the movie, that we had been tracking on this or whatever, but then, he's like, oh yeah, I did. I'm like, what'd you just say? He's like, yeah, me and my son just did some of this. So I asked, Steve to come in, because I know you're looking into it, you're planning it, I'm planning it. My game plan personally is in 2 years, I'll be doing a short version of this. Now there's the one we talked about, and the one that's referenced in the movie is called the Frances.
Yes.
So the Camino de Frances. That one is the one that I want to do in 5 years. So in 2 years, I want to go with a small group and go do this, kind of figure it all out, see how it all works. But my goal is in 5 years to be doing this with my two oldest girls. So, in 5 years, they will be teenagers. This will be, Dad will still be able to do these kind of things, and we'll just go out and do it and then share over 30 days of hiking from from France through Spain with my daughters. And so it's a super intriguing thing. I have been in guide schools and other things, where in this particular guide school, a guy looked at me and he says, I get people that come up here on my mountain. The one that comes to my mind, he was telling me this guy lost his son. And he calls this guy to thank him for that moment that he facilitated. Because when he thinks of his son, he thinks about sitting on his mountain during this course with him. Because they were just go, 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 go. And they captured a moment in time where when he thinks of his son, he thinks about that fire in the Rocky Mountains, sitting there talking all night to his son. So that is absolute gold, I think, for anybody. But this one, we'll kind of talk about background, see how far we get as far as the background of it and the preparation. So can you tell us a little bit about the routes?
Sure.
The whole thing, actually.
Well, the way everything started was, so the bones of James, the apostle of Jesus, were discovered in the 9th century. And so as more people found out about it, that became a destination. And so the cathedral, the Compostela, that everybody goes to at the end, and that's in Santiago, the Compostela was completed in the 1100s, but it was started to be built in 1075. And the most popular route is of course, still the northern route, which is the Camino Frances. And so pilgrims have been walking it literally for 1,200 years. It used to take pilgrims. It used to be a big thing for sick, elderly, lame individuals. They take between 6 months and a year. It was very hard. It was very dangerous. There was also forced pilgrimages. So if someone was convicted of a crime, sometimes they had a choice, jail or walk the Camino. Sometimes they didn't have a choice. They would make them walk the Camino. And so people walked it for devotion, for purification, for forgiveness of sins, and for the penance of their sins. And of course, the wealthy have always been the wealthy. The wealthy people would actually hire people to walk the Camino for them so they could get forgiveness of sins through their proxy that was walking the Camino.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now we know why Al did it. I'm just kidding.
Right. Exactly.
So as far as the reasons for doing it, now obviously you just did it. It could just kind of popped in my head. So what was the reason? How'd you learn about it? And then why did you and your son go do it?
So a couple years ago in 2018, my sister came to me and wanted to do something with my son for his senior year before he graduates from high school. And she brought this up, and I was like, what is this? What is this journey? What is this pilgrimage? And just started looking into it, and she's like, would you like to do it with us? And I said, of course. It's my son who's going. I'd like to spend some time with him on this. And that's how it evolved for us. So I didn't know much about it before she mentioned it to me. kind of researched it a little bit and looked into it and thought, yeah, let's do this. It's a great spiritual journey, kind of a way to get to know your inner self a little bit better, and to spend time with my son, something that we'll both kind of look back on again, like you were mentioning with your daughters and everybody, your family as well. Yeah,
that's amazing. And we did the motorcycle ride recently last year, 4,400 miles. We also did, I was a part of a 12,000 mile motorcycle ride with some SEAL team guys, that to honor a buddy called the Ride for Lance. There's a movie out there called Ride for Lance. And it talks about that journey. And there's just something about breaking the monotony of life. Even this, the COVID thing, I know that was a break. It was a forced break in your life to remind you that life is an amazing thing. You know what I mean? It's not just go to work and go home and go to work and go home and get caught up in this deal that when you sometimes it's significant, sometimes it's a health thing, something to remind you like, hey, we all have the same amount of days left on this planet. Meaning if I asked you, the answer is, I don't know. How many days you got left? I don't know. Is the same answer for everybody. Because truly, so that kind of just, when I do things like that, it makes me feel alive. It makes me come back recharged. And this one's just got my attention right now. Like when you told me about it, I looked at this. I remember watching that movie and being like, it's on my bucket list too now. You know what I mean? And it's just got an amazing way to do that movie. And I know a lot of times in this program, it's like John Wick and all these other crazy action movies and stuff. This one kind of grips you on a different level. So absolutely. When we talk about how does one do something like this, there's website after website. I know Follow the Camino. There's an actual blog of pilgrims, a log that you can get in after you've done it. And you can contribute to stuff like that. But I know that you had told me about the preparation thing. That some people don't do it right, and then along the way they realize they're too heavy right off the bat. Right. Oh yeah, definitely. The prep is huge. If you do not get the right footwear, shoe wear, even down to the socks, your backpack, the weight you're bringing. It can drag you down and you'll have foot issues the entire way. So that is the biggest thing that I found seeing our fellow pilgrims and hikers along the way, lots of foot issues. So I would say the number one thing is the right footwear and the right socks, definitely. Didn't you tell me like a free table or something like that, or some kind of place where people just show gear? You see along the route, people are dropping their hiking boots because they're too heavy, or they've got too many blisters from that. I don't know where they're buying new shoe wear out there, but there are certain places on routes where people are dropping things down and taking things out of their pack, leaving it for other pilgrims who want that and maybe want to exchange things. But yeah, it's kind of like a give and take thing. And partway through ours, after probably about the first 3 days, we were shedding weight down to the ounce, because every little ounce, as we know as hikers, count. Yeah. So that was big. Yeah. Ounces turned to pounds. So like, so where would do you know like about where you were as far as your kit? Yeah. So weight wise, I was at about 21, 22 pounds here in the States when I was kind of training for this. When you get out there and you start loading food, it was one thing that I forgot about. Like we wanted to bring some snacks just in case we got caught somewhere, we needed some food, or we just started getting hungry during the route and there was nowhere to eat. So we packed food, and 2-3 pounds of food, and you can feel it. In your training on a certain weight, I was like, wow, why do I feel like I have the heaviest backpack here? My son is 17. His is the lightest backpack. He should be carrying all the food and our water. Like, what? So yeah, definitely about 20, 21 pounds. But I could have shed probably another 10 more pounds off of that. Yeah. Realistically, we took too many things that we didn't need. That just weighed down the pack throughout the whole journey for us. So, anything come to mind? Examples of something that you're like, this should have went away. I heard you say something about a sleep bag. Yeah. So the first part, we did the Francis route, and then over the Pyrenees is pretty cold when we went. So overnight, we didn't know whether the place we'd stay would have blankets for us or anything. So we brought a lightweight blanket, and after a couple of days, when it started getting like 104, 115 degrees, that was the first thing to go. Like, I don't need that anymore. Yeah. So we shed that. I also brought a lot of bags. We brought bags to protect from bed bugs and other little critters. So lined our packs with plastic trash bags to put our clothes in. And some of that extra bags weighed us down. We also had a first aid kit where
I don't think you need a first aid kit. Maybe some Compeed or some moleskin, but other than that, you can find things on the way. At all these villages, there are plenty of places to find first aid items if you need it. Probably better strategy would be to buy as you go if you need it versus carry it thinking you're going to need it, never need it, and now you've got an extra pound of first aid material in your backpack.
So this is where I will get in trouble right here because most of us are the what if guy.
Oh yeah,
and I know for a fact I've got an Amazon account right now, a list called Camino. There's probably half of it doesn't need to be there. You know what I mean? So it's already like I haven't bought it yet, so I'm in trouble, honey. If Rachel's watching, but it's this listed there of just things I'm going to look into. What's a scrubba? Tell me about a scrubba.
A scrubba, that's a little thing, and that's one of those. It's a luxury.
You're right, because I'm like it's on my list, and I'm like, dude, I'm getting this, and I'm like, I don't know if I need this or not.
Right. It's cool because it's a little bag, but it's got kind of like a little washboard, flexible washboard inside of it. You put your clothes in, you throw some water, some detergent in, you roll it around on the ground, and then it kind of does the washboard action. Then you dump it out, fill it up with water, shake it around, roll it around again, and you've literally got a little washing machine. But again, I mean, you can use. They've got washing places in the albergues and in the refugios that you can wash when you get there, and that's usually the routine. Is pilgrims will get there, one of the first things they're going to do is they're going to shower and they're going to wash their clothes and hang them up to dry.
Yeah.
Before anything else.
Now I know a little bit about a little bit. Okay, so I don't know a lot, but explain what you just said because the terminology on the route is what did you just say? Where do you stay at night?
Oh, at the albergues.
Albergues, and that's what.
Those are kind of hostel type places where you don't have your own private room. Some do. Some are private
could be
rooms.
a home, could be a big warehouse with a bunch of bunk beds, could be
a monastery with an open room, and you've got like 50 bunk beds lined along the wall. And that was the one we sat at in Roncesvalles. That was one of the bigger places to stay. Probably more meaningful in that first stop in the Francis route, but we wanted to experience what the pilgrims experienced and wanted to kind of sleep in this huge place with all these people. And there were only a few places we stayed that were more private, where actually my sister's friend joined us partway through, but 4 of us got to stay in a private room with our own bunks. But yeah, typically, you're in a room with 12 other people trying to sleep for the night, and it's 115 degrees and people are snoring.
Now, as I understand it, you can make it kind of whatever you want. If you wanted to stay in a high-end hotel periodically, in some places you can do that. If you want to do the bunk beds or the whatever, the hostels and all that kind of stuff, you can do that. So you could mix it up. Like every 5th night, you could get a shower in a nice hotel, and you can. Same thing with food. You can eat along the way, and you can go kind of frugal, or you can go big.
You can do whatever level you want to. Say for maybe 20 euros a day, you're going to have the traditional pilgrim experience. You're going to be staying in the refugios and the albergues, and it's bunks only, and it's shared bathrooms. You go up, and sometimes they're going to have breakfast included. Some of them do, or a family style dinner included. About 35 euros a day. Then you can go up to where you occasionally get to stay in a little nicer place. You can go out to restaurants a little more often. If you want to do the full experience for it's like 65 euros an average a day, then you can stay in the little hotels and the little private ownership places. So it's whatever you choose to make it. However, the locals, they kind of have a disdain for people that stay in all the hotels along the way because they don't think they're having the true pilgrim experience.
So online, you can have your bag delivered to your stops.
A lot of people do that with a day pack.
So
you walk with a day pack,
walk.
and then you have the big pack shipped forward.
Right on. So yeah, like it truly is. This is going to be you make it what you want it kind of experience. So that's it's totally interesting. I think everybody that I know would be like really drawn to that. I want the gritty experience, and carry. I have no idea what a 10-pound pack would feel like because I've seen like, hey, 10 pounds. I'm like, 10 pounds? That's like extra socks. You know what I mean? Like, what is that? But I do. I think it'll be a good challenge for me because I am that guy. Better take this. Better take that. What if? And then before you know it, you're 50 pounds.
Yeah.
And I think being realistic, been a minute, since the SEAL team days, military days, and all that stuff, is that if I walked out right now and did a 2-day hike all day, man, there'd be some creaking and some soreness and all that kind of stuff going on. So I know that we're going to start a year out and start doing. I've already started actually hiking. I hike with a pack anyway, and I do some running. I do some other stuff, but it's different. It's not like once a week. It's not like twice a week. It's every single day there's no healing time,
right?
Which means you get an injury. And I saw some pictures of like blisters, and I'm not a stranger to blisters, but man, these are like split your foot in half blisters.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
this,
yeah.
if you don't check it, you're done. Like you're coming off the
Yeah.
trail kind of thing. So being smart, they've actually got on one of the forums a blister expert. I don't know if you've seen her. Maybe she's South African or something, really heavy accent. She knows more about blisters than I had ever, whatever. I was like, I'm glad I don't know that much about blisters, actually, you know. But some techniques. I think would you talk about the string? Something.
Yeah,
about
there's one that some of the folks use, and so you'll take a needle, and of course you'll heat the needle, you'll sterilize the needle, and you'll make a hole in the blister, and you'll push the needle through and draw string through it, and then you'll cut the string off on both ends, and then allow the string to soak up the fluid. And then
like a
you leave
wick in a candle. It just
Yeah.
goes out both ends or something like that
Yeah.
and fills the string full of your
absolutely.
nasty pus.
And of course you put on the antibiotic ointment and stuff like that.
Does not
to cover it,
sound.
but
I don't know that
it's,
this is a doctor approved thing. This is
yeah.
sounds like the don't inject Lysol because it was just on the news I heard, and don't do the I don't know, but that's a big deal. Like and I think I was because I envision heavy duty hiking boots, steel shank. You're like, brother, I got what was the brand? I never heard of that. What was the shoes?
Oh, Ultra Temps is what I use, the 1.5s. Big wide toe box in the front. My toes did not touch anything, but it was still secure in the midfoot and rear foot. And they're trail runners. They are not hiking shoes, hiking boots, or anything like that. I tried some. They were a little bit too heavy. Reading online, people suggested trail runners. And another source told me maybe bring 2 different types of shoe wear because the Ultra Temps are a 0-drop shoe. So if you're not used to that, you don't train in it, and you pick them up and go on this, you're going to have all sorts of Achilles tendon trouble with a 0-drop shoe if you're not used to it. So I did take 2 0-drops. I took another type of Ultras with me just to change them out a little bit. But I found after probably the first couple of days, I needed a little heel lift. Started getting a little sore in my Achilles tendon, so just bought like a little gel heel counter, put that in, and it was good to go. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and also you need to think about bringing pair of sandals or flip-flops because you're going to be in the showers, which there's lots of nasties on the shower floors. And when you're in the towns or villages afterwards and you don't want to wear the shoes, you've just been walking between 6 and 8 hours in, you can throw on sandals. A really good pair that I found, because I used to wear flip-flops, but something that's very comfortable and great to walk into. You get the Birkenstocks, but you get them in this new EVA material. So it's like a kind of a croc kind of material.
Oh, really?
But so it's impervious to water. And
it's not the old leather, crackly, Jesus-looking.
No.
Getting out of your VW microbus. I got you. I know a little bit about Steve.
Walking by, blessing everybody. Yeah. No, this is, and they're really super lightweight too.
Yeah, it's funny because like San Diego, Virginia Beach, and all that kind of stuff, especially where Bud's SEAL training is and all that stuff, there's this look. It's like that team guy or a guy going through SEAL training and all that kind of stuff. It's typically like some flip-flops or some kind of shoe like that. With cargo shorts or whatever T-shirt. Guys are healing. I remember you were doing that because your feet are so beat all weekend. You're walking around airing them out, and that whole commando style that comes from somewhere. Your crotches, because you're swimming in water, you're running in sand, you're wounded down there. You know what I mean? And you're literally healing. So you're airing stuff out. I don't want to get too graphic, but that's exactly what's going on in between because next week's going to be the same thing. You know what I mean? And then next week's going to be the same thing. So every chance you can get.
And even the underwear comes down to the underwear. You want like you said, you don't want a heavy cotton underwear where everyth's just soaking in there. And
Yeah. Well, like wool warms, cotton kills. Now the smart wools and all that kind of stuff, synthetic socks. Like this shirt. These are great shirts. They're fantastic, but they don't wash and dry good. So if you got the breathable synthetic stuff. I'm thinking like Ex-Officio, 511, like there's a bunch of different, who else? Like the Under Armour, like stuff like that. Yeah. You wash it, whether it's in the sink or with your little bag and all that kind of stuff, hang it up, and the next day you're off. Exactly. Like I remember hiking through Montana and doing all that. So I took several weeks after the military and all that, went up the mountains. I would just see a spring, me and my dog Duke, we'd jump in it, swim around, start hiking again. 20 minutes, you're bone dry again.
Yeah,
just pull off your boots, jump in, and then go. But yeah, I agree with that because you said Birkenstock, I automatically think about the leather and the nasty and the moldy and all the stuff going on. But that new material, stuff's getting better and better, so I have to look into that.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of people talk about chafing, okay? Yeah. I mean, cyclists get a lot of chafing. I'll have to look up maybe we can put a link underneath on the YouTube spot, but there's a cream that you put there, a cycling cream. That's got a really great name, and I can't remember it, but that helps.
I remember it.
Body Glide?
No.
Monkey butt?
Is it monkey butt? Yeah. So, little things you never think about unless you're walking for 35 days for 6 hours a day.
Right. You're like, and if you think about it, it's hard to fathom this because, I've never done it, is you're like, this is rubbing me a little bit. In 3 weeks, that's going to be that's going to, if you make it that long. So now it's like if one thing, and that's where I think that training, it's like you said, even the food, that's a good note. I'll take notes on that. Is like, what is that kind of snackable kind of food and what's fuel, not junk food, kind of whatever, what's fuel that's going to propel you through this. And all those little, they call them hot spots. That's an indicator. That's saying fix this right now, or you're going to be off of this trail in 2 weeks, kind of thing. So that's huge. And your body will compensate a little bit. Calluses here and there, but most of us live in suburbia. We walk to our car, we go to work, we walk in, we sit down, and then times 20 years, whatever. So to walk that kind of walk with zero weight, nothing at all, and then even like the shoulders, like when you wear a pack, typically even with lighter weight, some kind of kidney belt, typically. And then not a lot on your shoulders. I've seen people pack, and then they're not even using their kidney belt, and it's all on their shoulders. Like, brother, you ain't gonna make it. I've been on walks that have just been in the woods a couple miles. Let's go camp and then come back out. And guys, you're thinking you're got 911, but you haven't hit send yet. Okay, I don't know if you're gonna make it out of here, brother.
Well, and you're gonna see a lot of people too. I see it all the time online. I see the pictures of people start out with these huge internal frame packs. And you don't need them. So in the summer, you need between 30 and 40 liters. And if you're going to do winter walking, it's going to be between 40 and 60 liters. So not a lot. I happen to have a Go Light pack. Before they went out of business, a super, super, super ultralight pack, but it's still got a hip belt, so it takes that weight off your shoulders.
So disperses it correctly, and then even start walking correctly for that pack.
And so the backpack should be under 3 pounds initially. And the normal pack out there, it starts at about 4.5 pounds.
Yep.
I've got an idea on a pack, but it's more of like a tactical pack. It's probably already out of the running, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
it was like
and you want
to
train with it to make sure it's okay.
Yeah.
And
this is the concept, and I'll let you guys know because I just literally picked it up today. Ordered it a long time ago. They just custom made it, it's one they make anyways. But I had a different design. We were going to custom one, but one that they made, a tack pack, it was set up side by side as opposed to up and down. So, anyways, they call them bison bags. But the concept is that it's 2 bags that kind of hug a third bag. So you can put whatever you want in the middle, do this, and then they clasp around it. But I'm going to play around with that. The thing I like about their products is that the transfer, it's a plastic like frame, if you will, that tucks into your belt. So if you pull it off, the belt stays on. So there's significant things. If you had little pouches on there, there's you go. It might be too much. So I'm just going to play with it, and then by then see if it's too much. I won't take it.
Yeah.
But it's a great concept for here when I've got a gun on. Obviously, I won't in Spain and France. But if I did, the gun stays on you all the time. Like if you're in the mountains up here in the Rocky Mountains, gun never leaves you. Pack goes on, but the weight transfers into that belt system. Then you bail, pull it off of there. Well, I'm still in charge of these kids, even though my backpack's over there. That's why the gun's still on. Yeah. So. Anyways, playing around with that, I'll let you know. So what, and you can be honest or you can make something up. What did you can on the way? What did you say, this is staying here, so give it to another pilgrim?
Oh, gosh. I brought some...
The blanket, you said you got
the blanket was dropped. Extra toothpaste, like even the small tube. I was like, that's gone. Q-tips are gone.
Q-tips.
I was like, anything we can shed. Eat the food now because I don't want to carry it later. But I'm trying to think what else we got rid of.
Water's a big one. How much water do you? Because we have a saying in the military, it's better in you than on you. So if you can carry it or you can pre-hydrate, and like as soon as you start waking up, start getting water in you, and then start walking, so you're not dehydrated as much, so to carry less on you.
I just had one water bottle and like one of those water bottles you buy from the store that you can refill.
Like how big? Like
my water bottle probably 16 ounces.
Small one.
Yeah, kind of small.
You said there's plenty of fill-ups.
There is.
And they've been doing this 1,200 years.
Yeah,
so
every little town will have their fountains you can fill up at. You'll see the Santiago kind of shell by it. You know that everybody's drinking out of it.
Explain that, because that's cool that they probably won't know. If you've never heard of this, talk about that shell.
Okay, so there are markers on this entire trail system to make sure you stay on the right path. So when there's a fork in the road or a turn you got to take, there will be these concrete pillars with the shell marker. There's also people will spray paint, yellow arrows to lead you on the way and show you where to go. And even in towns, they're on the side of buildings, so you can see like, oh, that's the route, that's the street we got to take. So it's very easily manageable without even looking at a map.
Yeah.
So they keep you from getting lost on the way.
So map, compass?
We did use a map. So we did take a book that had map routes, and it showed us distance and kind of the way to go. And so you can kind of see like, oh, now I'm going through this town. I've only got like 5 more miles till our destination for the day. So it's kind of good to see that.
Now you're talking a book, because we're talking about cutting pounds and ounces.
Yeah, no.
Should I tattoo that book, the map, on Steve's back?
We only tore out the section that had the map.
Oh, there you go.
That's it. We just tossed the rest of the book because exactly any ounce counts. So
why do you keep looking at your shin? You're like, oh, I had the map tattooed on it.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too, if you can go without a guidebook, it's very well marked. But I've also heard numerous stories of guys that'll get off the trail for a little bit, they'll get lost, and then they have to backtrack, and you just added 3 or 4 kilometers onto a long day.
Yeah.
So, and another thing you can do is you can get one of those little inexpensive small Kindles or small tablets that really aren't weighty at all. You can dump the entire guidebook in there, so you're saving a lot of weight.
Now on that, because that just reminded me. So you're throughout the 30 days. Did you bring a phone? Emergency, obviously.
Well, I brought it because our son, everybody kind of walks at their own pace.
Sure.
So we knew we were gonna split up, and there's no reason to stay together every single time in a group. So everybody kind of goes at their own pace. We split up pretty much almost every day, and I wanted to make sure I could find my son in case he got lost or anything. And kind of funny, the very first day he did get lost. He didn't see the routes. He didn't see the marker. And we were thinking, as soon as I came up to the marker in the split with my sister, I said to her, I'll bet he stayed on the paved road. And sure enough, he did. And I said, for him to take off on the very first day and not know and kind of go together as a group the first day, he'll learn from this. So, yeah, he kind of went an extra mile, backtracked back down to where the split was because he thought he was lost, and he had to go the same route. So he went about 2 miles out of the way the first day. So kind of funny. He learned pretty quick to make sure if there was a fork in the road, he knew which way he was going to go.
That's a great point, because for me, I'm envisioning this with 2 attractive teenage girls. My daughters, they look like their mama. Sure. Thank the Lord, they don't look like me. But going through there, that's a nightmare for me. I'm in a foreign country, and I can't find my kids, that kind of thing. So that separation plan, all that kind of stuff. It's been on the radar. Like I told Rachel when we were dating back when everything's new and all that stuff, one of my goals is to get our kids out of this country before they go to college. Because I've met so many college kids that are going to change the world. They know nothing about it. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like they'll tell you, blah, 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 and this is whatever, and this should be communism. And I was like, you have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea how good it is here. You have no idea how bad it can be in other places. So Spain, France, to me, seems a very, very safe place to just check it out. But no matter where we are, I don't care if we're in Castle Rock, I want to know where they're at. You know what I mean? So that's the one thing that maybe this will be good for me to get out there. They'll be much older. They're little now. So obviously I'm got dad protective, mindset and all that stuff. But I want to raise them right and give them independence and teach them all that kind of stuff and say, hey, with your choices are consequences, and let's plan a little bit. But I could see me actually over planning this. You know what I mean? What figure it out. It's like If it adds a little miles, it does, but there's the lesson.
And here's the thing with the cell phones out there. I have Life 360, so I can see where my entire family is at any moment in time. So every city you get into, there is cell service. You can get on, and I could see where my son was once I got into the village or the town.
I didn't think of that. So your phone from here, do you have a SIM card or anything like that, or did it just work?
It just worked.
Okay, so
I have
GPS
an international plan,
nice.
And it worked out there. I had to buy an unlimited plan or a data plan. I had to pay a little extra for that, but I wanted to make sure, every time we split up, I'd be able to find him. At least if he got to a city and we started getting cell service, I could find him and meet back up with him if he got lost in the city.
Nice.
Absolutely. And like when I go over to Europe, AT&T and Verizon, I know both of them. I think it's $10 a day will get you a day pass. And talking tech too. If you want to be very clear where your daughters are, you can get a little Garmin Insight, and it's a little teeny thing that's always going to broadcast where their signal is. They can even text using that and their phone. If there's no cell service, you can actually text through the Garmin Insight. So if they ever got in trouble, they can send out an SOS. So it's just a little tech measure.
Get that now and just hide it in their purse or something. Man.
Yeah, exactly.
I turned my phone off. Ha ha ha. It's like,
right.
I know stuff. Cool. So, man, I still got something. I feel like we were taking a chunk out of this, but I got so many questions left. So let's go ahead and take a break. We'll come back with the episode next week, and we'll just continue this because I've still got questions on some of the planning still. I'm not done with that. The time of year. I want to talk about, like, in 2 years, like I said, I've got a game plan to move forward and do the shorter version. In 5 years, I want to look at that. But just as I was talking about with my friend Tracy, is that the way you make this happen, and I think this is important for my kids to see, the way you make a motorcycle ride happen to Alaska and back is you put it on the calendar. You got to want to do it enough to put it on the calendar. And you're really going to know if you want to do it by how well you defend that date. Like you just start even speak it into existence, and you say, in 2010, I am riding my motorcycle from Virginia Beach to Seward, Alaska and back. And I'm not going in a straight line, you know, and I'm going to honor a SEAL team buddy and I'm going to do all this stuff, and you're invited. I'm going regardless. And then another buddy goes, I'm going too. I'm going too. And before you know it, you got a gaggle of people making lifelong memories. And then you do it again, saying, I'm going to go to the Northwest and I'm going to do this and we're going to raise money to protect kids. And then you do it. Or you say, I'm going to go with my son on this date to Spain. And then you do it. And then the memories are absolutely priceless. So I want to talk about the planning part of it, of how do we get this from a discussion to me walking through Spain with my daughters. So thank you guys, each of you, for coming. I appreciate it. We'll pick it up again and do part 2 that continues the planning and then gets into some of the travel phase as well. So for those of you out there, we're going to go ahead and sign off for now. We'll pick it up next week. Please give us a 5-star rating for the podcast right now, and please write a review. That's how we get known and get out there and grow. Join us at Able Shepherd on Facebook. ProtectorCulture.com has the video podcast. You can see all these smiling faces as you're listening to it, and learn more about the Able Shepherd training program at ableshepherd.com. That's ABLESHEPHERD.com. Until we're together again, God bless each and every one of you, and take care of one another.